friends, the free fishers and dredgers of the Rochester Oyster and Floating Fishery, and most especially of the Right Worshipful, the Mayor and Admiral of the Medway, Councillor Kemp, and the burgesses at their Admiralty Court this day assembled. And it was ordered that this presentment be inscribed in the scrolls, signed, sealed, and delivered to the said Mayor by the foreman of the manor, Alderman Medway.
Thank you very much.
And, Your Worship, I said that the last time that this such an illuminated address was presented by a foreman who had been Lord Mayor was Sir Peter Gadsden some 25 years ago, and Sir Peter was the alderman of the ward to which I was first elected as a public councillor more years ago than I care to remember.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the foreman, Guildhall Manor of Southwark. It's much appreciated. Mr. Mayor, I'll continue with the discoveries. So, turning to the Chamberlain, have the jury any further business to bring before the court?
No further business, Mr. Registrar.
Chamberlain, over to you.
Thank you. There's a bit to get to, so I hope I don't bore you too much. So, Mr. Mayor, members of the Admiralty Court, may I first thank all of the councillors for attending the Admiralty Court today, which has sat unbroken for over 500 years. It's hard to believe that another year has slipped past, and I hope you enjoyed the ceremonies over this weekend, marking the ancient beating of the bells over the exclusive area of the tidal Medway. I would like to thank our Chief Executive, Mr. Neil Davies, for acting as Registrar this afternoon. His help and influence is always a blessing to the fishery. We extend a warm welcome to the freemen of our nearest guild, the colourful Guildhall Manor of Southwark, and the enthusiasm they impart. Thank you. Additionally, it's good to have our Area Warden of the Freemen of England and Wales for the South East, Nick Johnson, here once again for the 2 days. It is a pleasure to have the head of the Kent and Essex Inshore Fisheries Conservation Authority, Dr. Will Wright, here today. Will attended court last year, and since then has been a great source of help and advice to the fishery, which has been quite extensive, and I will touch on that later. So, thank you. This was further aided by the reselection of Freeman and juror Simon Abbottson back to the Kent and Essex IFCA board for a further 3 years, I believe, which was no mean feat, so well done, Simon. On behalf of the fishery, we thank all the officers of Rochester Cruising Club for this busy Admiral's Cruise weekend, especially Ian Foster, Admiral's Cruise Coordinator, whose planning, organisation and hospitality are instrumental in assuring a safe, enjoyable event. Perhaps a word up above Ian for some earlier tides next year. Our previous Admiral's Cruise Coordinator, John Standard, sadly died earlier this year. John was a genuine loyal friend and a great supporter of the fishery. His input and knowledge is sorely missed, but I feel sure he will be keeping a weather eye on us all this year. And for one, I will be raising a glass of single malt to John this weekend. We extend a warm welcome to our new juror, Joshua Aaron Brewer, today, and our thanks go to Freeman Stephen Dallas, who is stepping down after several years' service. On that note, I would like to thank all my jurors. They have all taken a share of the fishery workload over the last few years and perform a vital role in keeping the fishery on course. We all have different skills to bring to the table, and all your input has been greatly appreciated. So, thank you all. Fishery business is reasonably quiet. All rents are now secured except one. Fishery fairs are quite busy, and we had good progress. This winter and spring saw an abundance of small codling over the grounds. Thornback rays then moved inshore in huge numbers, and there have been steady returns of Dover sole on the better tides. Amongst the catch has been dabs, plaice, good-sized red gurnards, and a surprise octopus for the Starling brothers in Gillingham Reach. Member Martin Terry has invested heavily in a new under 10 metre boat and licence to take advantage of these fisheries, and that indicates the level of optimism present. There appears to be a wealth of good-sized oysters widespread throughout the river, and it is very encouraging to see, and we would hope, as a direct result of the successful management of the river by its freemen. We have not yet had an opportunity to have the oysters surveyed by IFCA, but it is a project penciled in the diary for the future. In fact, we have formed a much closer alliance with the Kent and Essex Inshore Fisheries Conservation Authority, and this was a key factor in establishing the new no-take zone on the north shore of the Medway by the presentment ratified earlier. Bass stocks are low and a major concern amongst Europe. To aid their recovery and for the welfare of a number of small juvenile fish, it was decided by the jury to extend the current bass conservation box in the river substantially to cover 5 square miles. This is the largest no-take zone by far in the country today. Respected bass expert Steve Councillor gave a detailed presentation to the jury on the vital importance of the salt marshes as a key habitat for young bass and many other species, and the jury decided to act boldly. This was fully endorsed by Medway Council through our registrar Neil Davies, and Kent and Essex IFCA through Dr Will Wright and Dominic Bailey, who are putting a bylaw in place to protect this no-take zone. The IFCA will aid in enforcement over this area alongside the fishery and the council. This sends a clear message on the importance attached to these areas of salt marsh and the measures the fishery have put in place. And this is in addition to the ban on trawling from Salt Pan Reach to Garrison Point to protect Dover sole stock, in addition to continued controls over the use of fight nets to protect the eel stock and their recovery, and in addition to the existence of the bass box already established between King's North Jetty and Oakham Nest Jetty for over 20 years, in addition to the recent ring fencing of several MCZs or marine conservation zones to protect habitat and species that are considered to be under threat. These are all substantial steps taken by the fishery to safeguard the diversity of fish in the River Medway, and we hope to be seen as an important conservation body controlling the River Medway for the future. I attended Southampton Crown Court in January this year, where Martin Ritchie, skipper of the motor vessel Endurance, was found guilty on all charges brought by the Marine Coast Guard Agency for gross negligence over the death of Freeman Stephen Trice. He was given a custodial sentence, and the death of Stephen is being heard at an inquest in Hastings later this month. We hope that justice will be served for Stephen's death. Robin Wadden's juror has recently completed a small craft surveyor's course and is now fully competent to undertake small boat service. So congratulations, Robin. Paul Starling, juror and water bailiff, has been elected to Commodore of Strood Pelican Cruising Club. Well done, I feel. And Thomas Richard Turner, juror, is now well on the way to setting up a website for the Rochester Oyster Fishery. This has been exciting and should be a good forum managed by Tom through the jury, so thanks Tom for all your efforts. In 1915, the fishery lent the government £200 towards the war effort. We have had war stock dividends ever since, and this year the government redeemed these loans and the money was returned to the fishery. Obviously we got the £200 back that was lent, but we could not help thinking how much £200 would have been worth in 1915. Still, it was a good cause, and our Freeman past were doing their best for the country at that time. We had no apprentices this year at the court, but there were some taken on in the Mayor's Parlour in January. There are also a good number soon to progress into the fishery as freemen. At present, there are 29 freemen and in excess of 20 apprentices. This marks good recruitment for the fishery to ensure it retains this unique position we are privileged to be part of. One story came to light as we researched material for the new website was how enterprising the freemen are. After the severe winter of 1947, there was a shortage of coal as it could not be delivered. Bluey Dallas, freeman, then went dredging for coal in Chatham Bay with an oyster dredge. The coal had washed over from Corey's Wharf in Limehouse Reach. Bluey put the coal in sacks and sold them to an eager public that was queuing on some pier to buy the coal. The National Coal Board then tried to prosecute Bluey Dallas for selling their coal. However, the National Coal Board had to climb down and drop the case when it was pointed out that in the 1865 Rochester Oyster Fishery Act, Clause 42, Section D, reads, "No person other than the agents, officers and servants of the jury shall dredge for any ballast, mud, sand or other substance except in due execution of the authority for improving the navigation." It was interesting to see how time and time again our old acts and charters came to our aid to protect the fishery through several centuries to the present day. The powers we enjoy through Medway Council will only be strengthened by the input of the Kent and Essex IFCA with the new no-take zone in our river. So to conclude, it has been another good solid year for the fishery. We are making headway with increased numbers and the new energy that they bring. Whilst fishing is always hard, we look forward to see what the next year brings. Could I just say that vessels leaving for the upriver cruise to Hawkwood Stone depart about 1:30. Following the court, all are welcome at Rochester Cruising Club for tea and coffee before the Admiral slips his moorings and moves upstream. And finally, Mr Mayor, I'd like to wish you an enjoyable year in office, which starts with your second Admiralty Court, and another chance to get out in the rig tomorrow. So enjoy that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Chamberlain. Mr Principal Water Bailiff, please close the court. Oh, my apologies. My apologies, the court. Mr Mayor, how could I? The Mayor is going to address the court.